Welcome back to Fold in the Cheese. It's your boy Kate Troll on the mic this morning, and it is Tuesday. We're recapping Week 3 in the NFL today, and I am joined as always by the Peter Brenner to my Aldous Snow.
Excuse me, missus. I've lost a shoe. Like this one, it's like this one's fellow. Sort of the exact opposite, in fact, of that. Not an evil version, but just
Ethan Gale fan. We're talking forgetting Sarah Marshall here. What's up, E?
I feel like you almost threw a T on the end of Aldous. Like Aldous Snow. That is me.
Aldous T. Snow. That's his name.
that was it. It was his middle initial.
Theodore. Aldous Theodore Snow.
Aldous Theodore. But oh my god, why am I wearing this effing shirt? Oh, why am I wearing this? It's such an underrated movie. I feel like that was the height of, why am I blanking on his real name? Jason Segel.
Jason Segel.
Was that pre or during like How I Met Your Mother?
I think it was pre How I Met Your Mother.
Was it pre? Wow. Okay.
Maybe the same time frame.
Yeah, because obviously, so he got his big start in Freaks and Geeks. Did you watch that show?
Never watched Freaks and Geeks.
So granted, it was
loaded.
Yeah,
star-studded cast, right?
Granted, it was only
Franco and Seth Rogen and those guys.
Yeah, Seth Rogen, Jason Segel, James Franco, Linda Cardellini, Jonah Hill, I think, was in it for some. Maybe. Anyway, so yeah, it got started there. It was actually, you should check it out. It's a cult classic show. It's Judd Apatow. He made it. He created it. He wrote for it, produced it, all that good stuff.
Yep.
But Jason Segel is just kind of one of those classic fun characters. Like, he's spectacular in How I Met Your Mother. And the fact that he can carry a movie himself, great. It was great. This is great.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He was you got a hint of dong, as one of my good friends and the Fanachek podcast would tell you, a hint of dong in that movie. Which
I think it was more than a hint. There were two times you saw full frontal dong, like not once, not like just for shock value. Then they threw it in a second time. It's like, okay, yep, there we go.
Hold on, I loved him in I Love You Man as well with Paul Rudd.
Yep,
Paul Rudd also in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I did check. This movie is 2008, which I think is right around when How I Met Your Mother was pretty hot.
Yes.
So kind of simultaneously, but he was fantastic as Marshall Erickson in How I Met Your Mother. But
yes,
so he's had a nice career. I can't eat a bowl of cereal without thinking of that scene, though. The very beginning when you see his dong.
Well, for two reasons. One, yes, you see his dong, but two, doesn't he have like a massive like baking bowl just full of cereal?
Yes.
And then maybe this just shows that I'm getting older. So I don't know about you. We're a big cereal eating family. And so we actually have those Tupperware where you empty the whole box of cereal into it. And he goes, I have the freshest cereal. She got this for me because I love cereal. And now I have the freshest cereal. And every time I'm like, I have the freshest cereal.
Look at me and my fresh cereal.
The cereal's so fresh. So I'm not rolling up the bag and shoving it back in the box. No, just got our nice Tupperware.
Yeah. We're going to get those. We're currently getting our pantry redone. So if you hear any jackhammering or anything crazy in the background here.
What are they, digging for oil in your pantry?
Creating a new house for a pantry. It's an oil rig. Yeah, we might as well check and see if there's any oil under there, just in case.
South Bend, Tennessee. Is Tennessee known for a hotbed of oil?
Nope. A lot of limestone. You can't even get a basement here.
We have a lot of clay in our soil. Does that count as something? Can I mine that?
That was how Georgia was. Yeah. Yep. Georgia was that way. I had a funny email come my way from my wife actually this morning, and I just had to share. So we created a YouTube video for her business that's all about financial literacy for women business owners. And she wanted to do a piece on hiring and retention of employees and culture and that sort of thing, which is more my forte from my previous background in staffing and recruitment. And so we put this video out there. It's on her YouTube channel. Of course, her audience sees it and all that, but they don't really know who I am. Someone randomly commented on the video, "Holy smokes, I was Kemper's neighbor in Greenville, Illinois." I thought you would get a kick out of it, both because that's how people from Greenville, Illinois talk. And also, we've talked about how funny it was being like a quarterback in a very small town and
celebrity.
It's like it's a don't get pulled over by the cops, get free stuff when you go out to eat kind of vibe. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Whoever that was, I had some great neighbors, loved them all. Appreciate you for the shout out.
I'm sure that person who was your neighbor still has a shrine of you in like their basement or something. It's like, oh, Kemper, he was our quarterback. Just
I
saying.
wasn't even that good. That's what's funny. It's not like I'm like state champion, all state quarterback, like just like an average. We went to the playoffs. We won a bunch of games. So like I think that was at the time that was a big deal because we weren't historically a great football school. So that was good. But
It's
I don't
kind
know.
of funny. Like
It is
this,
funny.
it's a stark contrast to me growing up in our high school system because our football team was garbage all the time. Like we didn't even have our own football stadium. So Brookline, we're just outside of Boston. So even the suburb of Brookline is pretty urban. So we didn't have space for it. We didn't. So we had to go to the local college, Northeastern University.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we would actually play our home football games there and get like 10 people, and we were garbage. So like if you were a football player, it's like, okay, great.
Okay.
Like honestly,
Are you a coxswain?
like,
Are you a coxswain on the
not
road
the
crew
Cox
team?
not the Cox-6 or the Coxmen, the Coxswain.
We got there. We eventually got there. Well, we got there after the podcast, but we got
We
there.
did, but we knew we were wrong. So
We
first
knew we were
we
wrong,
eliminated
which
Cox-6
is
with the
important.
tailbone, and we knew Coxman was not right. But
yeah, that was Vince Vaughn in Wedding Crashers. I'm a coxman. Well, I can't help it. I'm a coxman.
Coxman. Yeah, that's fair.
Very different.
Yes.
But anyway, I thought that was funny. I thought you'd get a kick out of it. Hey, I want to give a big shout out to one of our newest listeners, Jack Thome. I'm going to call you Thome. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce your last name, but it's spelled like Jim Thome, the great Cleveland Indians slugger. Look at there. Jack, what's happening, Jack? Welcome to the pod. Happy to have you, bro.
Thanks for listening, Jack. This one goes out to you today.
He's up in Needham, Mass. You know that area, right?
My dentist was in Needham.
Maybe it's Jack's dad.
Is your dad a dentist? Jack, we need to know. Send us an email, call in, let us know if your dad's a dentist. Is his last name Hertzberg? No. So
maybe not.
Uncle
Hertzy?
Uncle Hertz. Just saying. Needham, great town. Great town.
Shoot us an email. Kemper@foldingthecheese.com. Hit me up.
Do it.
All right, let's get into the week 3 recap of the NFL here. What do you say?
I think we shall. Some wild games. I mean, I feel like we're saying this every week, but I just feel like there are so many upsets and just weird storylines going on. Like it's kind of bizarre. It's only 3 weeks in, but it feels like it's been half a season already. Am I wrong?
No, I agree. I feel like the reason it feels so weird is because we didn't know anything. We thought we knew, and we were wrong on a lot of stuff. And I mean, we as the collective NFL audience,
the pundits,
the fantasy industry, certainly not this podcast. We knew a lot. But I feel like we didn't know as much as we thought we did. And so there've been some real surprises. I will continue to talk about James Robinson probably all season long. Like, what is happening with this dude? But in that vein, the Jaguars, like all of a sudden they're pretty darn good. And
solid.
Some other teams that you were hoping would take the next step have gone backward. And you got people like the Dolphins are just crushing. So it's been a really interesting year. Hard to pin down. It's hard to bet on. It's hard to do daily fantasy. I mean, my fantasy teams, some of them are struggling too. Like, I don't know. It's been pretty wild. But all we're going to do is we're going to stay the course. We're going to adapt when necessary. We're going to hit those waiver wires. Is what you do in midseason. You run the hot hand. Stick to your guns on some of your guys, but know when to bail on others. That's what you got to do.
I'm very close to bailing on one who we will talk about later. I'm very close.
Nice discussion about it. Let's hit the injury roundup before we go to the game recaps here. We had some running back issues for sure. First off, Josh Allen hit his hand or something on a helmet. He's going to be fine. I think he's going to be fine. Let's not worry about that. That's probably the biggest news in general because of what happened to Dak. Everyone was kind of like, they're going to be out. I don't know.
Right.
We think he's going to be okay. X-rays are fine. Says he'll be able to play. I think we'll be okay. But 3D running backs got injured. Well, you got David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Dalvin Cook. All right. Montgomery, they say day to day. He got rolled up on knee and ankle. That's one of those things where, like, if you miss, he's going to try his hardest to get back in that game. If he misses a game, Khalil Herbert looked awesome.
I was going to say, if he misses a game, his job is gone. And
his job might be gone.
Job security in the NFL is very fickle. And so, especially when you're a running back, if you have any knee or ankle issues, I mean, one of the fact that those linger, those are never going to be truly gone until the season's over. So the fact that, like, if you're dealing with that and you have a healthy Khalil Herbert, come on.
Especially the coaching staff, man, they don't care about who you were the last 3-4 years.
Mm-mm.
And I think I think it's kind of an embarrassment of riches. They got 2 really good running backs. I think Montgomery is a really good running back too. Given the fact that they are a terrible offense, the
Yeah.
fact that he's productive at all is impressive, right?
Whatever happened to Tarek Cohen? Is he still on the team? Did he get
Tariq,
dropped
I think he's been I think he's like season-ending injury every year in like
every
June.
year?
It's like June, and it's just like, he's gone. He's not.
I just
coming back.
love he was like the viral star. Wasn't he doing like flips and catching the ball and stuff like that? Because he was always so tiny. It was just kind of fun to watch him.
He was also like he was one of those 0 RB like PPR monsters. You know,
Yes.
it was like Theo Riddick and Tariq Cohen would get you by
Ugh.
with 6 catches for 60 yards every week. You could put him in the flex, no problem.
And James White. Those were just the all-stars.
Of course. So Montgomery's day to day. Keep an eye on that. If Khalil Herbert is available in your league, you've got to go after him because he looked amazing. He looked
He
amazing.
shouldn't be available anyway.
He probably isn't. He is not in my leagues.
No.
Dalvin Cook, shoulder injury. He dislocated his shoulder. This is like what happens with him. Apparently, it's been happening since high school, so this is nothing new. This is an injury he's very comfortable with, and he's played through it. And last year, if you remember,
I do remember.
You remember the device, the thing they put on him.
I knew everything Dalvin Cook last year. So yes, when he had that brace, he had his best game of the year. So and they're like, dude, you're healthy. I'm still wearing it. It's fine.
One of the best games ever. Yeah. I mean, just an incredible game. So
yeah.
I'm not overly worried about that, other than their offense doesn't look as fluid as it should.
Right.
You know, they look kind of messed up, and I don't know if they're just not figuring out the new system or what.
I was gonna say after week 1, they just kind of took a dive. Week 1, they're like, oh my God, this is the Vikings team we've been waiting for. Those ones we're talking about. Then obviously take a huge step back against the Eagles, and then shoot against the Lions. They struggled. Shouldn't have won that game. They did. We'll get into that, but whew, yeah, it's interesting.
Same idea though. Like if Alexander Madison was getting drafted in every single league I was in, and so
everyone knows.
I doubt he's available, but I would pick him up if he is. And DeAndre Swift, this is actually the bigger news probably because there's a lot of talk now about sitting him through their week 6 bye, and that's actually it's like a 3-week absence. I mean, that's a much bigger deal. Probably the best thing for him longer term, so he doesn't have to battle through it. But
I guess
what are you hearing up there?
Oh, I've got my head to the ground here listening for.
I'm sure everyone's talking about it.
I mean, it is. I think on the radio, it's tough because with the Lions, they're like, well, look, the consolation prizes, they're looking good and they're in games. They should have been winning these. They're exciting to watch. They're the second ranked highest scoring offense in the league, which is wild. So it's kind of like you're looking for these consolation prizes. And I can't think of the word. What the heck is the word where it's like, it's like you didn't win, but you can take away a win because we did this. What word is that? I'm blanking. You know what word I'm talking about? No, you have no idea, you thesaurus. Come on. Anyway,
I already told you this morning I have no brain.
So anyway, I think it's weird because people have these tempered expectations with the Lions because there are those who just say, "Oh, it's the same old Lions."
Silver lining? Is that what you're going for?
You said what?
What is he going for? The silver lining?
Yeah, but it's like one word. Oh. It's like you didn't win, but we got this little win instead. That counts as something, right? So anyway, they're being competitive. They're in game. So there's the crowd that you want to say, well, you want to take it to the next level. At this point, show us you can take the next level, finish games. So that's why they would want DeAndre Swift to play, because then you don't want to just have him sit, lose the next 2 or 3 games because he's not playing. Now you have a very competent backup in Jamal Williams. So I don't know. It's tough. That's the
question, right? Is it like is DeAndre Swift sitting, dooming them to lose? Like, is it as simple as that? Because I'm not so sure of that.
It's not that it's dooming them to lose, but it's definitely going to make it harder. And you're like, shoot, we can't even win with him right now. Like, what's it going to be like without him? It's going to be even harder. So,
well, I don't know. If it makes them feel any better, they get the Seahawks next. So you may not need competitive.
Watch out. So here's the last thing I'll just say on that is, obviously in the long term, you want to get him healthy because the Lions aren't there yet anyway. Obviously, they're getting there, and you're kind of going all in on offense this season. But if you want to think about long term and the true health of the team, yes, you probably should sit them for a couple of weeks until they're bye. But
I think personally, I just think that Jamal Williams is totally competent. Would be a great back on his own. And then of course they've got Craig Reynolds, who is like locker room favorite. He flashed last year. He did just fine.
True.
So again, you're not gonna like completely replicate DeAndre Swift, but it's not like you've got absolute no names back there.
No. So you're in the camp of resting him until week 6.
I don't know. I don't have a any skin in the game here, any dog in the fight, it doesn't really matter to me. But yeah, I probably would. I'd probably get him healthy, because when he's healthy, he's a total stud, and he does mean a lot to the team. And again, I think you can replicate his. Like, I don't worry about like David Montgomery. I mean, not only would I not sit if I was David, but as a coaches, I'd be like, your call, man. Your call.
Yeah, like, we're totally fine with you not playing. It's
DeAndre Swift ain't losing his job though. Like, there's no chance. And again, I think they like what they get running hard between the tackles out of Craig Reynolds. And of course, Jamal is kind of known to be a pass catching back, but he's a good runner as well, good at the goal line. I think they would not lose a ton losing DeAndre.
Okay. Moving on to another running back. Once again, Joe Mixon has a sore ankle. We think he should be fine, but as I've been telling everyone, it's Joe Mixon, man. So
I love how the same week Mixon and Cook get hurt. And it's week 3. It's not even like week 14. It's like this early in the season.
This is what I'm saying, man. This is why I was just staying away from them with a 10-foot pole. Granted, I can't really talk because my team is struggling a little bit, but that's all right. I'm just glad it's not because of them. I'm just glad.
So Samaje Perine is, I think everyone knew, would be the beneficiary if something happened to Mixon. If you want to stash him, fine. I think Mixon's going to play through it, and should be okay. He's not. He had a couple of years there where he missed a ton of games, but like he's not always like a Dalvin type where he misses 6 games every single year. There's just like a couple bad breaks for him, but normally he's fairly durable. I think he'll be fine. But if you want to stash, if you have Mixon, I would stash Perine. If you don't have Mixon, I'm not going to the waiver wire and being like, give me Perine because he's going to be a stud.
No, probably it's not like an Alexander Madison kind of deal, so I wouldn't.
Yeah. However, in New England, Mac Jones, he got a sore ankle. Did
you see
high ankle sprain?
Did you see how he went down? You would have thought like his ankle just completely snapped off.
I'm sure the most awkward white boy fall imaginable.
Like he was on the ground, but then like he grabs it, but then he hops up immediately. It's like, dude, if it's like that bad, why are you trying to then like get off the field? I don't know. You just threw a pick. It's not like you can hurry up and get someone else back in there. I don't know. And then of course the worst, someone took a screenshot of him being carted but carried like to the locker room. He's being like supported by 2 guys. So yeah, I mean, so it's a high ankle sprain.
Trying to catch some popcorn from a fan who's throwing it down from the stands.
I hear junior mints are very refreshing, but anyway, so he's probably out 4 to 6 weeks, high ankle sprain. As we talked about the Patriots, this is their very mediocre, not looking great year. He hasn't been looking that sharp in the beginning of the season. It's mainly the offense, although Devontae Parker finally showed up. But so we're gonna get Brian Hoyer, Bailey Zapp, man.
I want Bailey Zapp so much, but it's gonna be Hoyer, I'm sure. I don't know why you wouldn't just see what you got with Zapp,
right? You know what you're getting with Hoyer, but
yeah, and he'll be rock solid. But he's also like, how old is that guy at this point?
He's mid-30s.
Yeah, I mean, good grief, like. He'll be fine for you in the future if you want to keep him. What you don't know is if Bailey Zapp could be a backup for you. Now, if they're worried that he flashes and all of a sudden he's going to get some
quarterback
deal.
Controversy.
No, he's not going to be a quarterback controversy. I'm just worried, like, if he flashes, like, all of a sudden he's going to get a deal. He's going to, like, some other team's going to take him away. Like, I don't know, maybe they're worried about that, but he's young. He's got a few years on his contract.
Yeah. Well, let's stay tuned to another AFC East quarterback, one Tua.
Yeah, this was weird. Like, the NFL's looking into the concussion protocols to make sure they followed him. They thought it was a head injury. The Dolphins and Tua are saying it was a back injury. His back and his ankle a little bit too. So he's got a couple of different things that are hurting him. He said he felt like he hyperextended his back. I don't know how you feel like something's hyperextended.
Yep, there it is.
That's a hyperextension of my back. But I'll be okay. I don't know. I hope he'll be fine. Obviously, he's been on a tear this year, and he even played well against the Bills. So day to day, I guess. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah,
no update on our end. They feel like he's going to be able to play, but I don't know. Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry both left the Saints game. Thomas with a toe, Landry with a foot. It doesn't appear that serious. I think they'll be back, but Chris Olave looked really good in their absence. So I wouldn't worry about him, certainly. And then DJ Moore, big news out of Carolina. DJ Moore is not injured. Where is he?
Where is the Panther team? They're not good. They're not good.
Like 2 catches for 5 yards like every game, and I'm just like, it's kind of like Alvin Kamara is the same way. And I was just like, what How does everyone else in America know what you should be doing and you don't? And like, you can't come at me, Arthur Smith, about like, well, we know the team better. Like, you're losing. You're losing anyway. So
They did just win.
they did just win. But bro, come on.
Come on, bro.
Come on.
Bro.
They're 1 and
All
2, and the Saints are 1 and 2. Get it together.
Should we do a quick little recap of all the fantasy implications from all the games this past week, my friend? What do you think?
Let us do it. Started off with Thursday Night Football. Barn burner as expected.
I mean, it was. I mean, Jacoby Brissett is proving that he is the most competent backup quarterback ever, and that he can lead an offense. He can get you some wins. He's not lighting it up, but he had 21 of 31, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good for him. But, it's obviously paced by Nick Chubb. He had 113 yards and a touchdown, which is huge. That's probably the best safety valve for any backup quarterback you can have, is a stud like him in the backfield. So
yeah,
that helps a lot. Steelers just looked terrible. Trubisky was bad. Najee's finally starting to show a little bit, 56 yards, not great, but he's allowed the touchdown. But your boy Deontay, man, he going to be doing Deontay Johnson things. Just Mr. Consistent.
He's going to get it. He's going to get it no matter what, but it's just, it's capped at this point. That's the problem, is he's not catching touchdowns because Trubisky literally can't throw one. And he's getting like 6 for 70 every game. So he's like totally fine. But like, he had a lot of touchdowns with Ben. It was a good red zone threat for him as well. So that's kind of frustrating. I'm worried about Najee a little bit. Like, if your team can't get going, your running game can't get going. So that's a little frustrating. They're not dumping off as much to him either.
Yeah. Only had 3 targets, 3 for 5 in the backfield. So
Amari Cooper's back though. I mean, it's 2 good weeks in a row where he's looked really good and been the number 1. And he's probably not going to be a top 10 guy like he has been in some years past, but like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 or flex, absolutely. I think he'll be fine. There was a lot of concern that Brissett literally couldn't throw the ball, and it's like, no, he's going to be fine.
Right. So interesting that we're probably going to spend at least a minute talking about this. But David Njoku, what are your thoughts of him being a viable tight end option?
I think anybody's a viable tight end option. Exactly. Tight ends, all right? Preseason, there was a lot of hype about Brissett loves targeting the tight end. And so Njoku's stock went really up during the pre-draft process. The first 2 weeks were kind of duds. Second week, better than the first. And so after this big week, you're going to be like, okay, he's back. Like, he was never there in the first place. So I don't know. I think he would be a fine tight end option, but he's at the same level of streamer as, I'm not going to say Cole Kmet, but like Freiermuth, maybe Mike Gesicki. There's a bunch of guys in there that like they have the capability and you've seen it before, but they're going to be inconsistent.
Yeah, I just feel like Njoku was always that name. It's like, yes, this is the year he's finally going to do it. And so last year, he'd be terrible for the first 9 weeks. The 10th week, he had 10 catches, like 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Everyone's picking him up. Yep, he's here. He's finally here. Doesn't do anything the rest of the season. So it's just this. Is this that game? 9 for 89 and a touchdown?
I think so.
One flash.
I think this will be one flash. He may have a few others, but I don't think it's. I'm done doing exactly what you just said, which is like, everybody pile on. He's back. He's here. Finally, he's arrived. Like, if he hadn't arrived yet, you're not coming. He'll have more games like this. Probably he'll probably have a couple more of these throughout the season. You just won't know when they're going to be, and he may have one next week, and then you're going to be like, all right, there's 2 in a row. Now he's really here, and then he'll go to sleep on you for three weeks. I'm with you. I'm telling you, it'll happen. But the problem is, like, why not take it? Why not take a flyer? Because that's what you're getting out of every other tight end anyway.
True. Okay.
So what's the difference?
All right. How about one of the bigger upsets of the week? Colts over the Chiefs. Who saw this coming?
Man, this was wild. I was at the Titans game. I got a late invite to the Titans game. No big deal. That's why I'm rocking my jersey. But we were watching, the scores in the kind of corner of the stadium kind of thing, and I was just like, the Colts are beating the Colts are going to win this game. Like they scored in the fourth quarter, like to take the lead. It was like, oh my gosh, the Colts, who are 1-1-1, are going to beat the Chiefs. Like, this Colts team looked absolutely hapless at one point. So I don't know, man. I didn't watch the game. Obviously, I was at the Titans game. I don't know if you caught what happened there. It looked like kind of a defensive game most of the game.
It was kind of more that the Chiefs were kind of out of sync. And this was kind of what people were worried about in the offseason about the Chiefs, and not having the Tyreek Hill and not having that same explosiveness, not having that true number 1 guy. Obviously, again, Kelsey's kind of the outlier. We're not going to necessarily focus on that. But I think this was the Chiefs team that they were worried about. And it kind of showed. Obviously you had no running game. This is what obviously it was a big concern of theirs coming into the season. Was CEH the guy? Was it Pacheco? Whatever it may be. And then the receiving core, so Juju Smith had 8 targets. He caught 5 of them for 90, so that's decent. But then after that, Kelsey caught 4 for 58. Then Valdez Scantling, it's just kind of dripping down. So it's tough when you don't have that go-to guy. Then you look at the Colts. Jonathan Taylor didn't have a great game. He had 21 carries for 71 yards, which is for him pretty pedestrian. But Michael Pittman showed out 8 for 72. They were able to spread it out. I don't know. It's just more of a consistent game from the Colts. Matt Ryan kind of steady. But, Mahomes was 20 of 35. That's pretty uncharacteristic of him, and a touchdown and interception. So this was the Chiefs offense that people were worried about. Now, at the same point, it's the same thing as the Packers losing week 1. Relax. Does it mean the Chiefs are done? And no. But it's just something that was being talked about, and it kind of showed out here.
Yeah, this is what we talked about this a couple episodes ago about like the Buccaneers when Brady first went down there. This is what the Chiefs are dealing with right now, I think, which is they're still trying to gel together and figure out their rhythm, figure out who's who in the offense, get the right plays going. I still maintain that I think Juju is the guy you want in that receiving room, and I think this is the second of 3 weeks he's gotten like 8-ish targets. So I think he's going to be the guy you want long term. They'll figure it out. I agree. Like they'll figure it out. Their defense has got some new names. No more Honey Badger. They'll figure things out by the end of the season, but it's going to be a little bumpy here in the beginning. Sure. And that's okay.
It's okay.
And I think the Colts have a historically pretty good defense these last few years. So you're not shocked that the Chiefs would struggle against them. Now that 20-20 tie against the Texans was really surprising, and then getting put out by the Jags was really surprising on our offensive side, but they gave up like 24 to the Jags, I think. So Texans, I don't know.
Man, they're scrappy. We'll get to them, but they're being scrappy.
The Jags are scrappy for sure. So I think, I don't know. I didn't take a ton away from this other than like I was surprised.
Right. True.
Next up on my sheet is the Titans game. So I'd like to talk about that briefly.
Let's go ahead.
Titans Raiders.
The Raiders.
The Titans were totally in control of this game for most of it. And they kind of let the Raiders back in toward the end there, which is a little frustrating. Thankfully, it came down to a missed 2-point conversion by the Raiders. You got the sense that they were going to let them into the end zone again. Mac Hollins just ate them for lunch. I don't know where he came from, dude, but he ate them for lunch. And they couldn't guard him. They kept Devontae mostly in check. Waller dropped several passes. Waller, I don't know what's going on with him. I have not followed his stat lines this year. And if you drafted him in the 4th or 5th round or whatever, I think you're disappointed. He dropped a couple that were like open. One, he tried to just do something fancy, like one-handed kind of thing when he really should just put 2 out there. And one just hit him in the numbers. He just dropped it. He got hit for like a, it was like an unsportsmanlike, unnecessary roughness kind of penalty. He got hit pretty hard over the middle. And then shortly thereafter, he kind of alligator armed one over the middle. And I was like, that's worth the penalty to me. If you're going to get a 15-yard penalty in order to make that guy think twice about catching the ball over the middle, that's what you do it for.
So in his 3 games, he's had a game of 6 targets, 4 catches, 8 targets, 6 catches, 5 targets, 3 catches. So
I mean, it's not terrible, but
not terrible. But if you're wasting your 4th, 5th round pick on him, it's not what you want when he's supposed to be the 3rd best tight end.
Yeah, probably not what you want. So I thought the Titans, I felt so much better leaving this game thinking that's the Titans team that we expected to see this year. They looked more in sync. They were using their weapons. They used Robert Woods. He was great. Traylon Burks dropped a pass, but otherwise had some good catches as well. Like the tight ends involved. They were dumping it off to Derrick Henry. Dude had 6 targets. I mean, they were dumping off to him. He's wide open. And you're like, yes, get him in space,
Yes.
It was just good because it was like finally, it was funny. The guys behind me were like season ticket holders, and the first play of the game, they're like, here comes Derek. Go ahead, stack the box, hand it off to Derek. They're like, boom. He's like, here he comes again, stack it again, hand it off to Derek. We're just like, oh my God, come on, guys, get creative, But as the game went on, there was a lot more creativity, and there was a lot of like first down play action. There was like second down handoffs and like getting him out for screens and stuff. So I was really pleased to see that. I have not lost all hope in the Titans. Still not sure this is our year, but they looked a lot better.
Okay. Well, there you go. Raiders could be in trouble. Raiders are in trouble,
man. You can't lose 3 games in that division.
No,
the percentages for like 3-loss teams, like 0-3 teams, is like it's something like 4% have made the playoffs in history or something crazy.
Jeez.
So yeah, not good.
Next one I got up is the Panthers Saints. Kind of just a gross game. Nothing too spectacular fantasy wise. So they did talk about Chris Olave. He did blow up with Thomas and Landry kind of being a little hurt there. So he had 9 for 147, which is huge. Jameis was his typical Jameis self, had 350 yards, but with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Kamara was quiet again. Didn't have much coming out of the backfield receiving wise. He had 61 yards on the ground. McCaffrey was a relatively quiet 100-yard game. He's not getting as many catches as we had hoped he would be. But they made this just adjusting to Baker, and Baker only threw it 25 times, only completed 12 of them. So just we knew this game was going to be gross anyway. It was probably the reverse of what we thought. We thought the Saints, or at least I thought the Saints were going to win. We're going to win, but yeah, just kind of gross. Moving
pretty
on.
ugly. And DJ Moore is missing in action entirely.
6 targets.
They're going to have to make a concerted effort. He's had 6 targets in all 3 games, which is great. But when you only catch one of them this week, something's off, man.
Not good.
How about the Texans and the Bears? This was actually a really close game into the end here, which I think we did kind of expect. It was 20-20 going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Big interception by the Bears late, setting up for the field goal to win the game.
Yep.
But Justin Fields, bro, like they will not pass the ball. They just won't do it.
8 for 17 with 2 interceptions. Woof.
I mean, if you throw 2 picks on 17 passes, I probably wouldn't throw it too much either. But I didn't see the interceptions. I don't know how egregious they were.
But I mean, when Khalil Herbert's running the way he is, I would just keep handing that thing off too. And I mean, Fields did have 8 rushes for 47 yards, so
that was good.
He's doing something there. I mean, yeah, I still don't trust this Bears offense other than Khalil Herbert. Like, if you have any Bear to start on your team, it would be Herbert. So other than that, I don't think there's any viable option there. As far as the Texans go, Damian Pierce finally had a game. Finally, I'll take it. But the receiving room, it's so spread out. And fortunately, too, for Brandon Cooks, he had 7 targets, only 2 catches. But other than that, the highest receiving guy had 3 catches. So David Mills is spreading it out, which is tough if you're a fantasy owner because you want it to go to like the guy.
Davis Montana Mills.
You said what? David Montana Mills?
Davis Montana Mills. Your boy.
My boy. So I don't know. What do you, real quick, give me 30 seconds on Dameon Pierce. Do you think he's worth me putting back in my flex?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
There's less than 30 seconds. Brandon Cooks had that was a shadow matchup that there's an ESPN Plus article Mike Clay writes every week. It's a wide receiver corner shadow report.
You don't need to flex on me that you have ESPN Plus.
I was just going to say they're getting ready to pick up our podcast, so I figured we go ahead and start plugging them.
Okay.
And I think I can negotiate a free ESPN Plus for you for that. But
appreciate it.
Mike Clay does a good article every week talking about which situations are going to be shadow situations and if that's positive or negative for the players. And so you kind of I knew and just had no other options that Brandon Cooks is going to be shadowed out of the slot, which doesn't happen that often. But I knew that would be a difficult matchup for him. So I'm not discouraged by 2 catches out of 7 targets. Better days ahead for him.
Good, man.
How about the Bills-Dolphins game? This is the game that everyone was stoked about. I mean, and I think it came out to be as close as you hoped it would be. It just wasn't quite the offensive explosion as we expected.
Yeah, not the same way. Although Josh Allen threw it, do you know how many times?
65 or something?
63 times.
63 times? Yeah.
So
that's insane.
I guess you kind of, the way I'm looking at it is you equate that to basketball. So if you say, oh yeah, some dude got 30 points, but he did it on 30 shots. It's like, that's terrible. Like, that's not good. So he threw it 63 times. He got 400 yards, but that's too many times. You run the ball only 23 for so many offensive plays. The score for me doesn't add up. I don't get it.
It is wild. 42 of 63 for 400 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they scored 19 points. That's just that is wild.
And then you look at the other side of the ball. The Dolphins throw it 20 times total as a team. That's including a couple Teddy Bridgewater throws, and only rush it 17 times. So I'm trying to do the math. If that's 86 offensive plays for the Bills and 40 and 37 for the Dolphins. Is that right? Is that a thing?
It doesn't seem possible. To be fair, Allen's getting less than 10 yards per attempt and less than 10 yards per completion even.
Yeah.
So these are dink and dunk, a lot of that. But it was kind of a weird game. How about the butt punt? we should have led with the butt punt. Did you see this play?
I saw replays of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see if we can get it hit the personal protector, Sherfield.
Unbelievable. This is probably the story of the week. The butt
Mark
punt.
Sanchez is just so happy. He's like, oh my gosh, you guys.
Well, I think, and part of him is kind of like, hey, you're encroaching on my territory here, man. Like, this is my thing. Like, the butt fumble's that's my jam.
Well,
Stay away.
We'll get to the Niners game too, but Dan Orlovsky is also feeling like he's off the schneid too for what Jimmy G did. But that one's a little different. Jimmy G just stepped back, his heel hit it. Orlovsky was freaking running behind the goalpost, still thinking he was in play. But
it's still in the air. It's still in the air. Yeah, it was pretty wild. I think the receivers were kind of what we thought they'd be. Tyreek got shut down mostly, which will happen, if you really focus on it. Bill's got probably the best secondary in the entire league, so no shock there. Jalen finally broke one pretty long one, so he got a decent game. Diggs was money. Gabe Davis was, I think, I would hope to say, clearly injured. He didn't have that great of a game. Isaiah McKenzie showed out, and then Devin Singletary was a star. I was like, man, I wish that Dawson Knox and Gabe Davis were both injured. I could have had.
I could have claimed Devin Singletary.
Yeah. But in the end, I think the other star of the show after the butt fumble was Ken Dorsey in the booth going ballistic.
I was gonna say
the Bills run out of time. He's like, no.
They run out of time in the end, and the offensive coordinator, Dorsey.
He broke it. I like how there's now an arc, like, he's going to move on from this. Like, dude, it's fine. I would be pumped if my guy did that. I'm like,
all players were like, dude, I want to play for a coach like that. I got to tell you, I don't know if you know Ken Dorsey at all. I was a huge fan of his when he was at Miami.
Is he in your backyard too? I don't know if you know Ken Dorsey at all, but he's in my road.
I don't even know if people know who he is.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I can't believe that's the Ken Dorsey from those Miami Hurricane days. I was like,
yes,
wow, I didn't realize he was that guy.
I think he was so vanilla there that people forgot he was ever a quarterback, but he was legit. And that was one of the best national championships I can remember with the Buckeyes and Miami.
I know they only won one title, right? But that was such a dynasty team when he was there, and Willis McGahee, Ed Reed.
Portis, Ed Reed, that was a nasty, nasty team. Yeah. Jeremy Shockey, they had they had so many stars on those teams.
Talk about a team though that it's just dropped off the national landscape. Oof.
They lost to MTSU this weekend. Woof. Yeah. They got smoked. They got smoked by MTSU.
They got smoked at home.
Anyway. Lions Vikings. Let's hear it.
As I just say, it's the Lions being the Lions, man. It's just, I don't know if they're just playing not to lose because they're getting to that point. It's like, oh my gosh, guys, we're winning. We're playing well. We can win this game, but we don't want to lose it. And so they played that way and they lost it. It's just, you start to wonder, like, are they cursed? Because this just always happens to them. But no, because this is a new regime. Like, yes, they got brutalized last season with so many last-second field goals, but you got to take that next step. This is honestly, I put this completely on the coaching staff because you got to keep your foot on the throttle. You got to play to win, not to lose. Why didn't Campbell go for it on 4th and short? Decide to go for the kick. I don't know. It's just, you can't. This is a step backwards for them. They were in control of this game. They were looking good. And this is just a big step backwards. And it was just very disappointing.
I was shocked. I mean, I guess I'm not a Lions fan like the people around you are, but I was like, oh, they're up 14, or they're up 10 going into fourth quarter. Like they're going to win this game. Go Lions, great. We picked the Lions, and to give up 14 points in the fourth quarter is bad. So the question I had obviously was the play calling on both sides of the ball. Number one, were they taking their foot off the gas on the offense, trying to milk the clock, and that doesn't work. And number two, were they playing prevent defense and just giving up too much yardage and getting them to the point where they're in scoring position?
Yeah.
And then your defense can't adjust. Like, was it both of those things?
Yes. Yes and yes.
Oh, that's brutal, man. I really want them to do well, man. I really like what Campbell's doing, but you can't choke away games like that. You got to win when you're up.
Can't do that.
Okay. How about and Amon-Ra St. Brown was kind of dinged up too. I know that second half he didn't do much. He got dinged up, ankle or something, played through it, should be fine, but doesn't help. And obviously Swift being injured too doesn't help. But again, you got enough guys left. You can win that game.
Yeah.
How about the Ravens and Patriots? We talked about the Mac injury.
Yep, but I think it's more of Lamar Jackson, man. Like if he's not
Holy cow,
your
man.
leader in the clubhouse for MVP right now, I don't know who is. I mean, he's playing lights out. It's crazy how efficient he is, what he can do on the ground, what he's doing in the air. It's weird. They're always this dangerous team, but then they'll have dumb losses like last week to the Dolphins. So, yeah, but I would not want to be playing this team in the playoffs in the first round. Again, we've talked about this before, that the fact that Lamar is on a contract year, they did not get the extension done in the preseason. So
he's going to get $1 billion.
You are going to be paying me
$1 billion contract.
So much money. And it just shows the Patriots are not there. They can't keep up. As we talked about, they're not going to be able to keep up. If they're getting in a hole, especially now with Mac being down, but even when he was in there, they can't creep back in because they don't have that explosiveness. They don't have that firepower. I mean, it's a good running game. Obviously, there's a lot of, balance between Stevenson and Harris. They both got touchdowns. Even Mac got a touchdown scampering 15 yards. Devontae Parker finally showed out, but yeah, this is just not an offensive team that can keep up with the elite offenses, and Lamar Jackson's just an elite offense by himself. So
yeah, it's great to have a good running game, but it only really helps you if you can get ahead, if you can stay ahead. It's not helpful whenever you're losing.
No,
this is a lot more points than I expected, but I guess that's the Lamar factor. I mean, he went nuts. He went nuts. Okay, how about the Bengals and Jets?
This is finally the Joe Burrow that we were hoping and expecting to see. Although it was not the Jamar Chase we were hoping to see, or at least I was hoping to see. He's got a touchdown, but my goodness. It was nice to see him spread the ball out. You got your boy Tyler Boyd, who I know you've been so down on just the past couple of years, and rightfully so, just because he's obviously the third, fourth option now. But it just shows this is the offense that we expected. Is that they have these weapons, and now the fact that he's spreading it out, that Tyler Boyd is going to be your top guy in this game, that's dangerous. Because it's like who you're gonna key on. You obviously hope that Mixon's not too banged up. But this was a good get right game for the Bengals. They desperately needed it. What better team to do it than the Jets, who don't have any viable options fantasy wise? I mean, Garrett Wilson was all right. He was targeted 10 times, but it's just their team is so bad. It's tough if you just wonder about his consistency. Flacco is back to being Flacco. He threw the ball. Okay, I was hearing this ridiculous stat. He leads the league in pass attempts.
Yeah. Yeah. He's thrown it 50 times every game, I think.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he's just chucking it, man. I thought I didn't watch the game, but just stat lines and replays and stuff, like Breece Hall was very involved in the passing game. That was an aspect of his game that you thought if there was a weakness, not that he wasn't a good pass catcher, but that they wouldn't use him in that role as much because they have Michael Carter. He had 6 or 7 catches. I think I know it sucks because we like Michael Carter, but I think it eventually is going to happen. I mean, I think he's just going to take over.
About. It will eventually happen, but it's just I don't think you can rely on him by any means right now.
I think you can flex both of them.
Maybe.
I think you can. Okay. And then there's some news that Zach Wilson may be back next week after. Really interested to see what happens with him. I don't know if he's a downgrade for these receivers as he was last year, or if he's going to take the next step. Tough to take the next step whenever you've lost some mobility, and that's part of your game. So I'm nervous about him, but cautiously optimistic as well.
Yeah.
The Eagles look freaking dominant, dude. Eagles take it to the Commanders 24-8. Second week in a row, they scored 24 points in the first half and no points in the second half. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's just – it's not like they didn't have statistically what you wanted. I mean, they ran the ball a ton. Hurts was on fire.
It was probably just like, we don't have to. We're fine.
We'd rather let our defense get some reps, and their defense looks good.
Yeah.
They look really good. Devontae Smith, I think when you're worried about him week 1, when it was the A.J. Brown show, it's like I think the same thing with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. T. Higgins is so good that you almost can't just decide to take Jamar Chase away because T. Higgins will kill you.
Yep.
And if you try and take A.J. Brown away, Devontae Smith will kill you.
Well, think of it back at
two great receivers.
Think about it when Devontae was back at Alabama, and I know Jalen Waddle was hurt for the second half of the season, but that's the thing, like which one are you going to key on? And so obviously Devontae Smith had that huge Heisman winning season. And so he can do this. Yeah. And so you're exactly right. If you're just like, okay, let's just take A.J. Brown out. Nope, you can't do that because Devontae's going to make you pay, and he can, and he did. So yeah, I wouldn't be worried about him at all, especially once they're getting everything figured out. As you said, I mean, still new pieces in there. A.J. Brown's a big piece to then kind of work around. So it's going to take a little bit of time. And I think they weren't sure about Jalen Hurts. I mean, he was a big question mark that, yes, he had a great season last year, but it's like, is he going to be able to keep it up? Will he take the next step? And yeah, he is.
He did. I think he did. I think he's fine. I think you're good with him. I love Devontae's got one of the best nicknames in the NFL, the Slim Reaper.
Yeah.
Awesome. He's a skinny dude. All right, let's get to that Jags game, man. The Jags go across the country and crush it in LA.
They said, we heard you,
that team or not. We weren't sure if they were there yet. It's a statement win. I mean, you can tell me that the Chargers were banged up all you want to. That's a statement win. They straight up curb stomped the Chargers.
The Jags heard that you did not believe they would be able to go cross country and win. It's like, boom. Again, I think NFL teams just need to hire us or sponsor us or do something because we are giving so much bulletin board material. It's ridiculous. So,
I'm here for it.
I mean, maybe we can talk to Bill Belichick. They might need something. Bill, you suck. Patriots are terrible. You're going to lose the rest of your games. But no, I mean, these are flashes of the Jaguars that we were hoping to see last season. That, okay, the hype all around Trevor Lawrence. He's the best prospect since Andrew Luck. You know, this is the guy. They got a couple pieces last season, you're going to hope. And obviously, last season was a debacle. Now we're seeing what they can be. And it's exciting. It's one of those teams you're like, oh my gosh, do I kind of want to root for the Jaguars? Is this kind of like a fun team to be behind? Because they really have no one you would hate. They're like, why would you ever not?
James Robinson, I don't get it. I hate that he's defied all science and logic, but he was an undrafted rookie last year.
Tore his
Achilles about that.
But anyway, your boy Zay Jones, 10 for 85 and a touchdown.
Christian Kirk
keeping right up.
All he does is
Marvin
catch touchdowns.
Jones.
They're like, you know what I was thinking of in the car the other day? I was like, this is like Moneyball. I mean, this team is like Moneyball. Like they've way overspent on Christian Kirk.
I was going to say that besides the fact that they gave a lot of money to him.
Yeah, but like he does exactly what they need him to do. And so maybe it was genius. Like it was ridiculous per the market. It's sort of like the guy in your draft, in your fantasy draft, that takes Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 4th round. And you're like, bro, you could have waited 2 rounds. I'm like, no, I'm going and get my guy.
I'm going to go up and get him.
It pays off. Like this is crazy, man. Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, they're like, they fit the system perfectly.
Yeah.
And Trevor Lawrence, like you have to say, obviously there's like rookie growing pains and all that. So like, I didn't expect a ton out of him last year. I didn't expect him to just like take the league by storm, but you also are realizing now, like there's probably 70% that was just that coaching debacle.
Yeah.
Just Urban Meyer just ruined this team last year.
He really did. Then on the flip side, it's crazy because the Chargers were preseason, potentially Super Bowl contenders and saying one of the best teams defensively. They made huge additions with J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack. And obviously got Herbert and all the weapons out there. Yikes. What is up with Austin Eckler? I don't know if just because they were playing from behind and obviously he's not getting the carries, but they can't, at least he got a lot of looks in the passing game, but they can't get their running game figured out. Sony Michel was your leading rusher.
5 carries for 22 yards or something.
And obviously Herbert's banged up, but I mean,
no Keenan Allen. I mean, there's some reasons, but like you don't get beat by 28 because of those things.
To the Jags at home.
To the Jags at home. Like you don't get, I mean, they absolutely smoked in this game. It wasn't close. No. So yeah, you could lose to the Jags 24-20 or something and be like, if we had Keenan Allen, if we could have gotten the run game going, if Herbert was 100%, fine. But Herbert was still throwing the ball pretty well. It didn't seem to really hinder his throwing motion.
Right.
And it took some hits and he kept playing. So like, I don't totally buy that. The Eckler thing is really confusing. 4 carries for 5 yards.
Yeah.
What has changed? They did just lose their left tackle, their star left tackle. He's out for the season. And that's Herbert's bodyguard over there, blind side. That's not going to help. It's not going to help any side of this offense. So I don't know, man. I'm definitely worried about them.
Yeah. All right. What about the Packers Bucks? I mean, a gross game, kind of what we expected. Probably a little more scoring we thought there would be, but I mean, it just showed Tom had no one to throw it to. Russell Gage finally came out though, 12 catches for 87 yards.
Yeah.
Looking forward, he's probably a viable option until Chris Godwin gets back because Mike Evans will be back. But man, was their receiving room decrepit, kind of gross.
I think this to your point. I think it's exactly what we expected. A defensive game. These are 2 good defenses.
Yep.
With not a lot of firepower on offense, at least right now. If these teams play again in, December,
which
the Bucks look way different at that point.
Yeah. And the Packers are hoping they will too, that their receivers can actually hold on to the ball, but at least Aaron Rodgers hopes so.
Yeah. Well, I think to that point, this was kind of the Romeo Dobbs coming out party.
I was just going to say, is he a guy? Well, I guess spoiler alert, he will be. So I think, and to kind of end on this game, what about Leonard Fournette? He said the TDs were coming. I know it was just a gross game, slugging it out, but man, 12 for 35. Your longest run was a 6.
It's not good. It's not good. There's no way to sugarcoat that. It's not good. This Bucs team is just not at full strength. Okay. When you get Evans back next week, when you get Godwin back in the next week or two, hopefully, if Julio comes back, that's great, fine. But if Gage is healthy, that's just as good for me.
Yeah.
When they're full strength, when Gronk comes out of retirement again, this team will be rolling. Don't worry about them. If you can go get Fournette on the cheap, I would go do it. I don't know if you can. Like, I'm not going to give him up for cheap because I'm hanging on to hope about that. I'm the guy, but like, you might find a frustrated manager who's 0-3 or something, and it's just like, I got to switch things up here.
Yeah.
And I would go after him. It's just, you have to look at the circumstances,
Fair.
Tough defense too. I mean, Packers got a good defense.
So moving on to a close game that maybe wasn't that close, but the Cardinals-Rams. I mean, Cardinals are they're a mess. Kyler's being all right, but it's crazy to me to see this week how many pass attempts there were just across the league. He threw it 58 times.
It is wild. This week in particular, so many passing attempts.
Right. So, I mean, their running game is just not there. And, I mean, Hollywood Brown finally showed up. Our Wake Forest man is still doing his thing, which I love.
Told you.
I mean, I guess they're just waiting and just hoping until DeAndre Hopkins comes back that maybe that'll open things up for them. But I don't know. It's just rough watching this team. And then on the flip side, the Rams are looking lackluster too. I mean, all the preseason, I was talking about Stafford, getting him late because it's going to be a perfect, like if he falls to you in the 10th round, money. And again, obviously I was talking about Allen Robinson. That hasn't paid out. I'm just hoping it's just growing pains.
Yeah, maybe similar to the Kansas City thing where like they just need more time together, but it doesn't look right, man. Something doesn't look right.
Something is off. Maybe this is Stafford's elbow. Who knows? But man, I'm starting to get itchy. I am.
Yeah, I would pivot from Stafford for sure.
I might be putting in Goff, man.
If I had your team, I would put in Goff.
I'm thinking about it. I might just come down to matchups as opposed to just the automatic Stafford start. So
yep, I think that's smart because I think they're in the same boat for me. Like they're no different right now, and I have both of them in a different league. And depending on the matchup, I'll be playing Goff.
Yeah. Let's move on from this game. It's just kind of gross.
Greg Dortch.
Falcons Seahawks, close game. Didn't have as many actually, but Geno Smith threw it 44 times. Just weird.
It's wild, man. It's wild.
Yeah. Cordero Patterson, man. I don't know what else he can do to show how legit he is. 17 for 141.
He's at this point, he is just a running back. So that's the difference this year from last year. It's like he had kind of a hybrid role last year and it's like 6 carries a game. Now it's like, nope, he's our starting running back.
He is our guy.
And he's bigger than everybody on the field. And he's just going to be a thumper. He's good. Now they have, I think, 3 tough matchups coming up running wise. I think he's may have a little cold streak here. But dude, he's balling out. Kyle Pitts finally got involved. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Arthur Smith. We're not going to make a concerted effort to get more focus on Kyle Pitts. Like the first 3 passes. Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look what happens when you give him the ball.
Drake London, another touchdown. Just watch out.
London, man, he's balling out. I think he's a consistent flex option for you this year.
Yeah. And he will be for me.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Niners Broncos, dude. Again, something wrong with Denver. There is something wrong. They shouldn't have won this game. Again, we briefly alluded to it. Jimmy G steps out of the back of the end zone. Dan Orlovsky celebrates, but again, it was not as bad as Orlovsky's, so we're not going to let you off the hook that bad. Man, what is
I just don't. I mean, I give the 49ers have a good defense, so you could say that if this were isolated, I would be like, oh, it's the 49ers, a good defense. But like, this is a trend. This is not one game.
No,
they just don't look good.
I don't know. This is not what the Broncos paid for when getting Russell. I mean, it could obviously some of it has to do a lot with coaching as well, but the only bright spot was Cortland Sutton. The fact that he hit 8 for 97. Otherwise, there was nothing viable on this team. Nothing.
Yeah. Melvin Gordon actually had a good game. I think he got 15, 16 points.
Because he had 26 yards on the ground for a touchdown and then caught 5 balls. So that was
yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But like, you're probably not going to start him. I mean, like, you could flex him, which you could draft him and flex him. But like, I have him and Javonte in a league, but I've got like Saquon and Fournette and people. Like, I'm not going to put Melvin Gordon in there, but Gordon outscored Javonte, and I'm like, yo, just like give this man the ball.
Yeah.
But I'm just really curious about Russell. Like, I don't get it. It's not like there should not be a drop off production wise in his talent year over year. So it's clearly a system fit. It's clearly not clicking yet.
Right.
And so part of me is like, hey, just give him time. You know, like, this will be second half of the year. He'll be crushing it. But I'm like, golly, they just look like garbage. They do not have it together right now. And they've got all the playmakers you need.
Right.
And I'm very nervous about that.
Yes.
Yeah, nervous.
They're moving into Monday night. The Monday night miracle for the Cowboys coming storming back. Cooper Rush, the chip himself. And how many targets did CeeDee Lamb get, my friend?
CeeDee balling out. He had 8 catches. All I know, he probably had
12 targets.
Yeah,
12.
Yeah.
So
what's funny is you totally called us. You're like, watch when a backup comes in. Sometimes they just like they know who their best player is and they just go to him the whole game, and they absolutely are doing that. I don't know what Dak was getting cute with, but Cooper Rush is like, I know how to do this.
I know how to find him. Just I don't care if I'm locked in. I'm just going to him every time.
Yeah,
and I just like to point out,
a football player.
I picked the wrong team to win, but I picked the correct score.
You did pick the correct score. I was laughing about that, and then I was thinking, this almost turned out to be the 20-20 tie that I had predicted as well.
Yes,
it was 13-13 going into the fourth, and I was like, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
And then Dallas scored, and I was like, it's 20-13. Oh my gosh, come on, Giants, get in the end zone. They kick a field goal to ruin my prediction, but you did nail it. 39 points.
Saquon had a solid game, which was good to see. Kind of a bounce back from week 2. I know a lot of it was on that 136-yard touchdown run, but still, I mean, it shows he can do that. Still had 4 catches, 45 yards out of the backfield. Very good to see that out of him.
Yeah, he looked really good.
Huge week 1, disappointing week 2. Came back and did it week 3, which is good to see. You hope that this is the trend now that he's here. Again, but there's no receiving option on the Giants. You don't want anybody in that receiver core. Kenny Galladay, I saw some crazy stat or just fact. It's not even a stat. He is making more money than Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, and Devontae Smith combined.
Oh my gosh, that's so gross. I wonder how much money he's making per reception.
Oh, it's got to be $1 bajillion.
It's got to be $1 million.
Oh yeah,
because he's dropping everything. So he had a bad drop last night. It was bad. Yeah. I mean, like fans booing him. Like this is. I don't know what his deal is. I don't even want to talk about him. Sterling Shepard left on the cart though, and that's not good. And not good. I haven't read the update this morning. It was a non-contact injury.
That's never good. It
looked like he's grabbing like his shin. It looked like almost like his shin just snapped, and you're like, "What happened to you?" But they're assuming it's a knee, so maybe it's like bottom of his knee or something. But like, it didn't look good. He was just, I mean, it wasn't even like a cut. He was just kind of like jogging, like or doing a route or whatever, and just like pop, just like oh.
I would expect that out of you or I, but not out of a top athlete,
like a sniper. Yeah. So I don't know where you go from there. Richie James, I guess, 5 targets again. I'll tell you, the rookie tight end Daniel Bellinger looked pretty good. Made a couple of nice plays. He hurdled a guy one time. It was actually pretty impressive. They got no one else to throw to, man. He might be worth looking at. I'm not saying pick him up right now necessarily, but 4 for 40 on 5 targets. They don't have a lot of places to go with the ball.
Woof.
Yeah, anyway. Noah Brown had 7 targets. He looked good again.
Yeah. All right, Cowboys win. Cooper Rush, pick him up. See you, Dak.
Cooper Rush.
Dorsey. Watch out. Whew. All right, that was all the games this past week. A lot of recaps, a lot of kind of going over all the fantasy implications. Now we're going to go talk quickly about some waiver pickups and who to target after 3 weeks, kind of seeing the trends and whatnot, and some hot names. So what we got for quarterback? Nothing. Nothing.
Wasteland, dude. Honestly, like I kind of wish Dak was out for the full 6 to 8 weeks, because I would take a flyer on Cooper Rush and just be like, you know what, for fill-in for a couple weeks, the dude's slinging it, man. He actually he's kind of slinging it.
He's slinging it in college, dude. He threw a lot of TDs, a lot of yards, so he can pass. And again, I just love the fact that he's force feeding his guy.
Yeah, it's working. How about that? I I would take a shot on him, but Dak's like they're talking about getting his stitches out before the game, and like he's gonna be back so quick. It's gonna be stupid.
Anyway,
but yeah, otherwise, I don't know, man.
Jared
I don't know. Not a lot of options out there. Running back wise, though, Khalil Herbert. That's your guy.
If he's there, you take him. You use any waiver priority you can, get him.
Yeah, and if you got Mixon, go for P. Ryan. If you got Cook, if there's any chance Madison's out there, I'd go for him just to have him as insurance, if nothing else. But those guys will be valuable throughout the season. I think the bigger story is the wide receivers this week, because we talked about Romeo Doubs, and like there's some talk that he's going to be the guy, the number one guy. Lazard scored as well, so that was good to see. Christian Watson's not really connecting yet, and you know how Rodgers gets. If you don't catch his passes, he's like, you're dead to me.
You're in the doghouse forever.
Yeah, he'll take you off the field. So I think Dobbs looked like the number one guy and showed that he can be that guy.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous about can that happen all season, but worth a flyer. Matt Collins, like I talked about, this 2 games in a row, he's balled out. It's hard for me to think that they're going to feed him as much as they did yesterday or on Sunday, knowing they've got Devontae. They got to keep Devontae going. Like he's kind of fallen off the last couple weeks. They got to get him going again. Waller, Renfro was out this week, so does Hollins take a back seat to those guys? I don't know.
Right.
Zay Jones, again, if you need depth, like if you need somebody, Zay Jones is getting targets.
Getting touchdowns.
Solid. Is going to be like a Brandon Cooks type. It's not going to be the sexiest play, but he'll get it done for you, especially if you're in like a 12 or 14 team league. He's worth a look. And then, no joke, Greg Dortch, man. I mean, I don't know if Rondale Moore's going to get this exact role back if he's healthy, and I don't know when he's going to get healthy either. His injury got worse, after week 1 or something. Like, Dortch is getting it done.
Yeah.
He's catching everything that's thrown to him, and he's getting, 8 for 70 or 7 for 63 or whatever, like every game. Like, go for it.
Greg Dortch, GD, getting it done. GD.
Getting it done.
Trademark.
Dortch the torch, getting it done. Yeah, he's a baller. And then tight end, Tyler Conklin's got 7 targets in each game, 7+. And Flacco's throwing it 55 times every game. So I don't know, like, again, with tight ends, like, it's hard to know who to trust week to week, but 7+ targets in every game, pretty trustworthy for a tight end.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. How about a do it update? Do it.
All right. Let's do this do it update. All right. Once again, our 3 guys. So as you said, Trevor balled out this week. He got 32 points for you, giving him a total of 71 for the season.
Let's go.
It's solid. It was his lowest game of the season, but it was fine. 16.8. Giving him a total of, what's this? 71.6. Look at that match.
What a do it bet.
Love it. All right, moving on to running backs. AJ is just kind of going the wrong way.
Yep.
Going down. His usage and production has been going down. So he only got 5.8 points this week. Whereas Josh Jacobs, he's slowly going up. He got 14.7. So, shoot, that total is in 1.2. 1.5 points separating those two. 33.6 for AJ. 32.1 for Josh Jacobs. So, hey, QBs and running backs, great matchup so far.
Nice.
T. Higgins, on the other hand, had a good solid game for the Bengals. Got him 14 points. Allen Robinson, you're dead to me. You got 4 points. You literally have 2 more weeks to do something. Otherwise, I don't know.
You're gonna fold on the bet that early?
No, I'm not gonna fold on the bet.
I concede.
The only reason I folded last season is because Chris Carson didn't have a neck, so that was fine. But yeah, so that is a 17-point difference. So a lot of season left, but not looking good so far.
Oh, this is anybody's game. These are great. These are very competitive.
Yeah, just as we thought, just as we hoped. So they're living up to it.
Okay, good. How about our weekly do it bet?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So obviously we had the draft where we got to select Bills and Dolphins players. Kemper got the first pick. So we had the first and fourth, and I had 2, 3. So Kemper got who'd you get? Stephon Diggs. And then I went and took Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And then Kemper got his one of potentially 4 players, and Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, Devin Singletary. Or who was the other one? Was there one more?
There was not one more, but I would have taken Isaiah McKenzie in a heartbeat.
There it is. So anyway, he had Gabe Davis and Diggs, and I had Will and Waddle and Hill.
And Hoddle.
So the totals, we won't say who won yet, but the totals was 21.4 to 21.1. So
insanely close.
Any closer.
Yep.
And it literally came down to, these were all wide receivers, by the way. It came down to a 9-yard rush. That was by one Jalen Waddle. Dolphins get the win.
Unreal. And I will also say, depending on your scoring, we give a 1 point bonus for going over 100 yards, and Waddle went to 104.
Yep.
1 point bonus. You win by 0.3. So those two things will cost me. Kudos to you. Well done. You picked the right two players. I love how close it was, though. That was pretty baller. Pretty baller.
Pretty fun to see. Again, that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see him close. You want to see him going into the wire. As we like to say in the pool boys, is that EKG alert, like what's going to happen. So it was good.
I wonder if there was a catch on like the last drive by one of these guys that probably
stat correction.
Or something. Maybe there is. We'll see. Hey, I got something for you.
No.
Go ahead. Give me the intro.
It's some on campus.
On campus. On campus. You were in the hot seat today, and I am ready to exact some revenge on you. I got to tell you, I was this close to finding the Toronto Argonauts roster and just really boning you.
Well, I couldn't remember if was Doug Flutie on the Argonauts or was he on the Montreal Alouettes?
I think he was an Argonaut. I think.
Was he an Argonaut? Okay. That's honestly the only reason why I know the Argonauts. I was like, oh, Doug Flutie. I'm going to follow them.
So I'm not doing it how it started, how it's going, because that's where we talk about retired players. George Blanda. I'm going to give you one team here and see if you can nail it, though.
Okay.
I know you can. I'm hopeful that you won't, because I hate you right now.
That's fair.
You're a real jerk. You're a real jerk to me. Okay.
I gave you a good team. You got the team. But yes, the Rocket trivia was rough. It was more of like, I should have clarified. That wasn't really trivia. It was more of like, see how close you can get. So it wasn't the best of trivia. I'll give you that. It wasn't the best. It was more of, I wonder. That's a good question.
It's more embarrassing that I haven't seen the movie in so long and knew some of the answers, or didn't know some of the answers that were probably pretty obvious. Like how many rounds did the fight go or something.
That was the only obvious-ish one.
That's the one I definitely should have known. Anyway.
Right.
Anyway. Let's get started here. In no particular order.
Yes, sir.
I got 2 running backs and 3 receivers for you.
Oh, 3. I'll take 3.
And a tight end if you want it.
Okay.
Wide receiver.
Quarterback. I want the quarterback first.
Okay. Wide receiver, Clemson. Running back, Alabama. Running back, Mississippi. Wide receiver, North Carolina. Wide receiver, Fresno.
He said running back for Alabama and Mississippi. I got to say Raiders just because of Fresno.
It is the Raiders because of Fresno.
Yeah. Obviously, Josh Jacobs was Alabama. Fresno was obviously Devontae Adams. I
didn't want to give you Devontae Adams. That's really cheating to not give you like their most well-known player.
So, yeah. Okay, wait. Who was Mississippi?
Brandon Bolden.
Oh, Bolden. See, the former Patriot. Great. I didn't even.
I know.
Forgot he was on the Raiders.
He's legit their number 2 running back. I'm not kidding. Like, he came in when Jacobs needed a rest in that game. The only other guy to get a carry, like, it's not Zamir White, unfortunately.
And obviously they got rid of Drake. So, wow, I didn't realize Bolden was there. All right. Good for him. Good for him.
Renfro at Clemson. Matt Collins, UNC. I actually didn't remember that.
Yeah, I thought Renfro was Clemson. I was like, at first, as soon as he started off with Clemson, I was like, Sammy Watkins. He's going Green Bay. He's going, but then it would
you
be
went
too
Sammy
obvious.
Watkins instead of like DeAndre Hopkins, T. Higgins,
Because, like,
Mike Williams.
The fact that you led off with Clemson, I'm like, he's not going to go with like the top Clemson guy.
I could have, because I could say again, I'd say running back Alabama, wide receiver Clemson or LSU, and I feel like that's still not going to help you at all.
True. Okay. Again, I like hearing the second like running back, the second wide receiver is like, it's interesting. All right.
Did you know where Darren Waller went to college?
No. Wait. No. No.
No. Still no. Wait. No. Still no.
Where do you go?
Ramblin' Wreck at Georgia Tech.
Oh, wow. Dad would never have guessed that, especially if they just had their AD and their coach fired. So good for them.
They did.
Ooh.
They suck.
Damn. Wow. Okay. So that was a good on campus. I liked it. A Raiders team. It's like one of those teams you just don't necessarily even think of, especially because they're doing so crappy right now. But it was a good one. So dang. Went through all the recaps of week 3. A lot of action, a lot of crazy upsets, a lot of passing attempts. Bizarre. So dang, we got a lot to look forward to. Coming up next episode on Thursday, we'll preview all the games coming up. We'll let you know how our weekly our pigskin pick'em do it. We got a little shake up in the standings. Pretty fun to see. And yeah, man. So until next time, keep on folding.
Fold it.